What if happiness isn't something we choose, but something that slowly emerges when we finally understand ourselves? What if forgiveness isn't about excusing the past, but about freeing the nervous system from replaying it? Tonight's conversation lives at the intersection of science, philosophy, and story, where neuroscience meets compassion and meaning replaces self-blame. This is a conversation about happiness that doesn't promise shortcuts, only understanding.
Welcome to the Spirit Talk Show, Bedtime Stories for Grown-Ups, where we explore the inner lives behind the ideas that shape how we live. I'm your host, Doyle, and tonight we're joined by Adam Brownlie, an Australian author, philosopher, and explorer of science and the art of happiness. Adam's work bridges neuroscience, psychology, philosophy, and lived experience. Through his upcoming book, Happypedia, and his writing in both nonfiction and science fiction, he challenges one of our most persistent myths, that happiness is simply a matter of choice. Instead, Adam invites us to see happiness as something shaped by brain structure, chemistry, belief, and environment, and to find hope not in self-judgment, but in understanding forgiveness and gradual change. In this conversation, we'll explore the 6 pillars of happiness, the neuroscience of decision-making, forgiveness as a biological process, and what it really means to live with purpose and compassion in an imperfect world. Adam, welcome to Spirit Talk Show. Really interested in talking about your stuff. How is this like was writing your first career? Is this what you've done from the beginning, or do you have another career before it? I know you've actually done a lot of stuff.
Farming.
Yeah, I have done a few different things. I started off with farming. So that's my profession, farming.
Oh, you're a farmer. Cool.
Then, yeah.
It was cotton, I think, from what I read.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What kind of farm?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, cool. So you live in what part of Australia?
I live in the eastern part. I don't know how well you know Australia. Southeast Queensland.
Yeah, well,
Sunshine State.
Cool. Like I'm from Ireland, and we learn geography there. If I was a typical American, probably wouldn't know much geography, but I'm pretty good with Australian geography too.
I think other than one city in the southwest, everybody lives in Eastern Australia, right? Almost.
Well,
No, pretty safe bet. I live in Brisbane now, so
okay.
Yeah, a little hidden gem. I think it's the best part of Australia.
So you're
best
saying
climate anyway.
You're saying you live in Brisbane. That sounds like a city, but you're a farmer.
Well,
so you live outside
700 clicks outside of Brisbane. Right?
Yeah, that's what you mean. 700 miles outside Brisbane.
Oh no. So you asked what I've done in the past.
Yeah.
So I haven't always been an author.
Okay.
I started my journey as a farmer, and that's I could say my profession. But no, I don't farm anymore. Yeah.
Well,
no, now I live in the city. You could say full-time. Well, for the last 3 years, I've been a full-time author. That's all I've done from 9 to 5, working on Happypedia.
Great, yeah. Well,
now it's about promoting it. And, so that's going to be my journey for the next little while, I think.
Well, let's talk about the journey of the thought process of Happypedia, which is your book. That's is it out right now, or is it coming out? It's released right now.
Yeah, literally just came out this week.
Oh wow!
Just a couple of days ago. So it's available on Kindle, and you can order the paperback. Unfortunately, you can't get the hardcover because it's too many pages for the Amazon printing press. So for now, it's just paperback.
How much pages is this book?
It's huge. It's 620.
So let's... wow, cool.
Yeah, it's quite... I can show you. It's like... That's it there. So it's pretty good value for money if you want a lot of pages for that.
Pennies per page, yeah.
But if you want to, if you don't want to read a lot, if you want it condensed, it's, yeah. But it was hard to get in, it would have been great to condense it more, but every time I showed it to people, they're like, what about this and what about that? And I just felt like if I condensed it, people are still going to have these questions. This is not going to have that value that I wanted it to have. So,
Right. A lot of times an author's second book is very much like their first book, but yours are two radically different areas. Were you in a different sort of place mentally when you wrote Lost Gods than now, or are you ever going to go back to that world and write another, or that's a previous part of your life?
Yeah, it was just parts of my life. Like, that's how I thought at the time. So they're both about a similar philosophy. Like, I've always had a passion for sharing this philosophy I've got. My first idea was like, oh, let's share it in a story, in a narrative. That's probably a good way to share it. And so I wrote The Last Gods. I had, like, as you write, you have so many ideas, and I had so many ideas that I worked into that book that I think my original intention of it sort of got lost along the way. So in this second book, I'm being a lot more direct about it. Like, this is exactly what it is, and this is how it can help you be happier. Which basically, this is how it can help you forgive yourself and forgive others.
And Happypedia is intended as nonfiction, correct? I mean, it's not a narrative; it's a philosophy.
Yeah. So they're two extremes, aren't they? One's a
fiction. Well, let's take.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's take a few minutes giving people an idea of what the book is about and what the purpose is, and how the story of how you came to write it. Right. So let's spend some time. So give people, like, what's the elevator pitch for, like, Happypedia?
Well, on the cover it says a user's guide to happiness. Yeah. So it's pretty broad. It goes into a lot of different areas of happiness. I think that's what sets it apart from other books, you could say, about happiness, is quite often they're about one very particular thing. Mm-hmm. So, and quite often it's something like someone's discovered it and it's changed their life, and they're like, hey guys, you've got to do this too. Like, I discovered this and it made my life so much better. You've got to do it too. Whereas mine, I've got my barrow that I want to push, but I've tried to be more broad, as in, like, this is the gamut of things that you need to be happy. There's not one thing.
Do you spend a fair amount of time at the beginning of the book, even just going into what does happiness mean? It's sort of one of those words that, it's like, a color, it's like, what is red or what is blue? And people are going to have,
what's the color of love,
Yeah, of all the words, happiness. So you're going to get so many different definitions from people.
Well, so Adam, what is happiness?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's exactly where I started the book.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to share this philosophy via showing people how it can help them find happiness. And so then I was like, righto, if I'm going to write a book about happiness, what is happiness?
Yeah.
And I think we can all agree that it's a feeling, right? It's a positive feeling. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to be more, you could say, maybe scientific in my description of it. And so I decided that what happiness is having the right balance of serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. So when we've got those hormones in the right balance, we're happy. Everybody is. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. Everybody is happy when they've got those chemicals in the right balance. You can't be unhappy when you have them in the right balance. And then the reverse, if you haven't got them in the right balance, then you're going to be unhappy. And so happiness is just having those hormones in the right balance. And so then that's where I start the book.
So you're saying that
how can we get these?
Oh, cool. Sorry, I think there's a bit of delays. Sometimes maybe it's the distance. I don't know. Sometimes I think it's delaying. So sorry if I speak over you. But So you're saying like happiness is like a thing that can be obtained, like this is your happy pill, and because it causes the serotonin and everything to balance, rather you're talking about it being a thing that can be created, and you're happy because of these things are in balance. You're not happy because of something good in your life. You're happy because of this balance.
Well, it's all cause and effect, hey?
Yeah.
So the book is very science-based. It's all about cause and effect. So when you're in a good place in life, generally that's causing these hormones to be in the right balance.
Yeah.
And then that causes you to feel good. And then that would cause you to describe yourself as being happy. So it's just where along the continuum of the causal chain that you're talking about.
Of course, yeah.
So if you're with friends, that'll cause you to have higher levels of oxytocin. Mm-hmm. And then that'll cause you to feel warm and fuzzy. And then if someone asked you how you feel, you'd probably say, I feel good. Because that experience caused the hormones, which caused this feeling, which caused your description of the feeling.
And the problem with like the happy pill that you were talking about, Trevor, is if you artificially induce that level of oxytocin, you would feel that same feeling at that moment. But your brain would also then get lazy. It would say, oh, I don't have to create the oxytocin. I can get it externally.
But I could take it in a pill, yeah.
You know, so from a bit of what I was scanning, Adam, on your book is how do you set up the sort of the mental muscle or emotional muscle, so to speak, to create that sort of to try and keep yourself in that sort of triangle where you want that balance to be by the activities that you're doing and the ways that you're thinking and interacting and food you're eating and getting enough sleep and who you're socializing with. Is it sort of in the general area, or?
So are you saying how do you get the brain structure to want to do these things? Is that what you're saying?
Is that the book? I mean, is that your purpose in writing this, or what?
My purpose in writing it is mainly to share this philosophy to make forgiveness easier. So much of our stress comes from judgments, right? Judgments that we've made a mistake and we're regretting it, or we're going to make a mistake, or someone else has done something and we judge that as bad and then we resent them. So if we can reduce this stress, take this burden off our shoulders, then it just makes our whole life easier. So if we're not stressed, then we've got more motivation to do all these things that you just listed, like eating well, sleeping well, exercising. If we're stressed and we get home from a stressful day at work, like quite often the last thing we want to do is go out for a run or go out for a walk. We just want to sit on the lounge and turn the TV on. Mm-hmm. Whereas if we come home happy, then we've always got this energy, like, you know, we've got this energy to cook a good meal or go out for a walk or, you know, try something new. So that's what the book is about. So in a nutshell, you could say.
So if someone wronged you at work, so to speak, not carrying that back with you and spending the night just sort of stewing about it, it doesn't, you know, it's like, it's not going to matter tomorrow, didn't matter today unless I pay attention to it. So let's let it go. That kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you can forgive that person, like they've done what it is, it's probably bad, like literally bad. You know, and like you said, you're going to go to bed and sleep. You're not going to be laying, tossing, stewing over what happened. And so then you'll wake up the next morning refreshed and you'll be in a better place to go and start over again. Whereas if you wake up tired, you know, everybody knows that it's hard to be happy when you're tired. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just a great way to start your journey up what I call the happiness helix, which is like the happier you are, the easier it is to do things which make you happy.
Or a positive feedback loop.
So,
yeah.
So tell us, take us a little bit through the origin story of how you created this philosophy, or if you received it, if something you heard from somewhere else, is this something that you created? Like, take us through the origin of it.
Yeah, so my first exposure to this was when I was like, I just finished uni, and myself and two friends were walking along the Brisbane River. And I don't know how the topic came up, but Jack, he's like, our life is just like this stone. And he grabs a stone and he throws it, and he says, where this stone lands is determined by the force I apply to it, the weight of it, the gravity, all these forces applying on it. It has to land in a very particular spot. And our life is just like that. Like, we are just matter moving according to the forces applied to it. And so we are going to end up in a very particular spot at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of our life. And I was like, wow, that's so true. And I think I just took it to extremes. Like, I think there's a lot of people who buy into that perspective, but I've taken it to the more I reflect on it, the more I research it, the stronger my understanding and I guess dedication to it becomes, and the more it frees me, I guess, from regret and resentment, because that what happened was unavoidable.
So let's talk a little bit about your 6 pillars of happiness, your pillars, which are food, sleep, exercise, socializing, novelty, and hope. They seem deceptively simple. So why do you think that we often overlook the basics? Why do people overlook them?
Yeah, good question. I guess they just seem so simple and obvious, and probably a lack of belief that it's going to make a difference. Like, it's hard to imagine, just getting a little bit more exercise is really going to change how we feel. Or, maybe improving our diet a little bit is going to change how we feel. Mm-hmm. And maybe these little things aren't going to have a big difference. And so we don't put the effort into it. And so we just stay where we are. Yeah, I think it's a big part of it is just believing that it's going to actually make a difference.
Well, I think it's partially all partially because, like, my kids, sometimes the thing that they need to do is like it's sitting in front of them, and they think, well, it's going to be there, so I can do it later. 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 It's always something that it's available to me to do when I want to, which in effect makes them never do it, right? So I think sometimes people think, I can always exercise. I can always sleep more. I can do it tomorrow. I can do it tomorrow. I can do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow never comes, right? And then they've spent 20 years not doing it. Do you think that's what people do?
Yeah, well, that's probably a part of it too, isn't it? Yeah. That makes perfect sense. Like, you can always be like, next year I'm going to, but right now something else is more important. Right now I've got to get this promotion, or right now I've got to do this other thing. Yeah, 100%.
Go ahead.
What was interesting to me in looking at your 6 pillars, but your story about the stone kind of answers, is the one that sort of jumped out that seemed to be missing was any kind of creation or crafting. The making something coming into existence. But thinking about that in light of the story about you said about Jack, is that isn't part of being the stone. So that now makes sense.
No. So creativity does actually come into it. I'd say, well, it could come into it a couple of ways. So one of the pillars is novelty. So I'll just go through the pillars. So it's eating well, sleeping well, socializing well, exercising well, finding novelty, and hope. And when I first saw novelty, I was just researching what gives us these hormones. And when novelty first came up, I was like, that just doesn't seem right. It doesn't fit in with these other, health-related things. But it just kept on coming up. And so I included it. And a big part of novelty would probably be creativity. So novelty is just something new. We love new experiences. And I think it's the way our body motivates us to learn. Because when we're learning, we're having new experience, or when we're having new experiences, we're learning.
It also really ties into our sense of time. The more novel something is, really changes how our brain perceives the passage of time. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
So, Adam, go ahead. Sorry. I think there's a delay. That's why sometimes it feels like we're talking over you. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. That's it. I think that was all I was going to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you talk a lot about forgiveness, not just others, but ourselves. So how does neuroscience, that's a hard word for me to say, I'm sorry. How does neuroscience change the way we think about blame and responsibility?
Yeah, so a lot of blame comes from this perception that someone could have done differently, right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't blame. Sometimes this gets confusing because of different ways words are used, but like, we don't really blame a tree for dropping a branch because we're just like, it couldn't have done differently. Like, obviously, the timbers in that branch were of a certain structure that it just couldn't hold its weight anymore, and it had to fall. Like, there's nothing that tree could have done about that to stop that branch from falling. It's unavoidable. It had to happen. But we often, like the way we're raised and the way we're taught that humans have this ability to break the causal chain. And when we do something bad, or when we do something in general, we could have not done it. Like, we've got this supernatural ability to break the causal chain. And then that makes us regret things. We're like, I could have done something, but I could have not made that mistake. I could have decided differently. And we really regret and feel really bad about this mistake. Whereas from a neurology perspective, everything that happens in our brain is cause and effect. So like an electrical current travels down a neuron, and then that causes hormones to get released, and then they attach to another cell, and that causes another chemical reaction. And this is all cause and effect. Like, there's no magic in it. And then that causes a thought to appear. And so when that thought appears, there's nothing we could have done to stop it. Like, it was just a chemical reaction.
Yeah.
And so every decision we make is just a chain reaction of past events. Understanding the neural process that causes our decisions and our thoughts is really powerful in helping us accept that, no, we do not have a magical ability to change, to break the causal chain. Like, everything we do, we were caused to do by the past. What happened in the past caused us to do that. And so then it's a lot easier to forgive ourselves. We can be like, you know what? I stuffed up. It would have been ideal if I did something completely different, if I made a different decision, if I didn't go there, if I didn't say this. But it's not my fault, because like, I was made to do that. I was made to do that by everything that happened leading up to that. And so we can just be like, I'm going to try not to do that in the future. But it's not my fault that it happened. And it's not that person's fault that they did what they did to me. Something made them do that. And then it's so easy to forgive them. You're like, well, it sucks that whatever happened in their life that made them do what they did, but we can't blame them. Like,
so it doesn't come from malicious intent or wanting to hurt. It just comes from things that we couldn't control. And so that makes it easier to forgive, I imagine. It's like you can forgive an animal that attacks someone because it's just what they had to do, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. A lot of times forgiveness.
Go ahead. yeah, maybe it does come from malicious intent. Like maybe this person did really want to hurt you and they set out to hurt you. But it's that intent that is not their fault, because that intent is due to a chemical like balance in their brain at the time, the chemical structure, because of memories that they've got. Like these memories make them make certain decisions, and those memories are from past experiences. And the chain just goes back to the dawn of time. So even if they've got bad intent and they intended to hurt you, it's not their fault that they had that intent. But if you want to liken it to animals like you just did, we can do the same thing. Like if we know there's a snake in a particular area, we're going to be careful, right? We're going to take precautions in case we cross that snake. And it's the same with people. If we know a person has a certain trait that makes them dangerous, we're going to steer clear of them and take precautions not to get involved with them. So we can still take precautions against the nature of this being without holding resentment towards them.
Wow.
Interesting. And a lot of times... Go ahead.
And that just makes our journey so much more enjoyable, that we're not going to bed with resentment running through our head. We can just go to bed thinking, what we're going to do to improve our situation tomorrow.
That's great.
Yeah, a lot of times forgiveness is seen as something that one offers to someone else. But it sounds like in the model you're talking about here, really is almost irrelevant whether your forgiveness is communicated to the person you're forgiving, because you're forgiving them within your own mind and letting it go,
freeing your own mind
on your side, and whether or not you do anything to say to them, I forgive you. Because a lot of times someone will try to forgive someone and they're like, what are you talking about? And it bounces back. Whereas if you're not worrying about trying to have that forgiveness be heard by the other party, then you're able. Then you're fully in control of it. Am I hearing that correct? Or
This reminds me of the first paragraph in my chapter on forgiveness. Something I learned in writing this book is that so many of our words have so many meanings that it can make some of these conversations very difficult. Like forgiveness can mean to remove punishment for a certain wrongdoing, or it can also mean to remove that suffering within ourselves, like that resentment. And they are not as related as they might sound, given they've got the same word to describe them. Like we can remove someone's punishment, but it's not necessarily going to remove that uncomfortable feeling in ourselves. Like just because we say, look, I'm not going to give you any consequences for what you've done, that's not going to make me necessarily feel any better. We need to know which one we're talking about. Are we wanting to remove consequences, or are we just going to want to make ourselves feel better?
Well, and the inverse too. One can deliver consequences, but maybe that then removes that person from hurting anybody else, but it doesn't address the person who they harmed releasing that harm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So one form of forgiveness is really about the other person. Does this person get consequences or not? The other one is all about us. It's got nothing to do with the other person. So whether we feel good or not, it doesn't matter about the consequences. So we can give them consequences and forgive and release that resentment inside of us. Or we can say there's no consequences and we can release that resentment inside of us. It's really, the second one is really a selfish act, you could say. It really doesn't affect anybody else.
Hey, so Adam, we do this thing in our show where we read these stories to people, and it's a trip. We researched your work, we researched you, and we created this story which is in recognition of you. So if we could take a few minutes to read that to you, Howie on my right here is going to reread it to you. So here's your tribute story to Adam Brownlie.
the space where happiness grows. Adam Brownlie does not offer happiness as a prize. He offers it as a process of recognition. In his work, happiness is not something you earn by trying harder or thinking better thoughts. It is something that emerges when the brain is finally allowed to stop defending itself against old stories. He writes with the quiet courage of someone willing to tell the truth gently, that much of what we blame ourselves for was shaped long before we had language for it, that our nervous systems learned before we ever chose, that forgiveness is not weakness, it is biology finding relief. Adam's work creates space to understand why decisions felt unavoidable, why patterns repeated, why perfection was never the answer. In that space, something rare happens. Compassion replaces judgment. Whether he's writing about the 6 pillars of happiness or imagining futures where identity and belief are tested at the edges of human experience, his voice remains steady, curious, and humane. He does not ask us to become better people overnight. He asks us to become kinder witnesses to ourselves. And in doing so, he reminds us of something radical and deeply hopeful. That happiness is not about fixing who we are, but about finally understanding why we became this way and choosing to move forward with patience, connection, and grace.
So, Adam, what did you think of that tribute to you and your work?
Yeah, thanks. I always look so deeply in it, and I was like, what's that mean? Like, what does he mean by that? And some of them, some sentences, they seem to contradict each other. Like they say one thing at the start and the opposite at the end. But maybe I'm just listening too deeply.
Deeply is good.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at that. Well, okay, let me share it with you on the screen. We can identify the part you're talking about here. So you said at the beginning it's talking about his work is something you earn, try harder. Is that what you mean?
There was something at the end about not trying to improve ourselves, but just accept it and move forward. Was there something like that at the end? I can't. Can you slide up your screen so I can read it? I just have to. Oh, there we go. I got it.
Oh, is it? Okay, well, let's go to the start of it. It just starts there, and then this is pretty much the bulk of it. Let's see.
In his work, happiness is something you earn by trying harder or thinking better thoughts. Well, that I'd probably disagree with.
Yeah.
You're not going to change anything unless you try, unless you change something.
Yeah.
To me, that's trying harder. And the thoughts we think have such a huge effect. So we definitely want to improve our thoughts, and we can do that through the 6 pillars. So by getting a better night's sleep, we're going to think better thoughts. Everyone thinks better thoughts when they've rested, and when you're hungry, you find it hard to think happy thoughts when you're lonely. So getting the 6 pillars will make it easier to have these positive thoughts.
Adam, regarding the pillars, which pillar do you think people most commonly underestimate, and which one tends to unlock change fastest?
It really depends on the person. It depends on. So the analogy I like to use is if we grow to growing cotton. So we could say very basically, cotton needs water, it needs fertilizer, and you need to control the weeds. If the soil's already wet, but it's lacking nitrogen, there's no point going and watering it to try and improve your yields. like if the limiting factor is the fertilizer, you're going to get the biggest bang for buck by fertilizing it. And so it's the same with our happiness. So due to our different circumstances, we've all got different needs. So if you can see that at the moment, your limiting factor is your socializing, so you're just not getting enough good, like you just don't have a sense of connection with those people you're spending time with, then that's where you'll probably get the biggest bang for your buck. If you're not exercising, but you're spending plenty of time socializing, you got plenty of sleep, you're eating reasonably well, then that's probably where you should focus. Focus on your exercise. So the answer to that question is going to be different for each person. So really, to answer that question, you'd need to go through the 6 pillars and say, hey, which one of these do I need to work on?
Right. And the conundrum is going to be that the one that you would find easiest to add more of is the one that you almost certainly already have the most of.
Yeah, it's probably.
Oh, it's so tempting, isn't it? Like if we run every day and we're not happy, it's like, I'm going to run twice a day. That'll make me happy. Yeah. Or if we're socializing every day and we're stressed, you know what? I'm going to spend more time because we all usually have something we're good at, and it usually makes us happy. And so when we're stressed, we just do more of it, and it's usually not helpful. Yeah.
So, well, I think it's, from what I know with the people I know, sleep seems to be one that's very easily given up by people. People think that they can function on 3 hours night of sleep and 4 hours. That seems to be the one that people seem to give up so easily. To answer his question, if I'm so bold to do so, it seems like that's the one that people choose.
I feel like from people, it's probably the circles you mix with, but I feel like a big one is socializing. I feel like so many people are lonely and they don't know it. They don't want to admit it. But once they get a good relationship, then their world just changes because they were just lacking that sense of connection. Okay. So I think a lot of the pillars are valuable for different people. And the same with like eating. Like some people just eat crap food and something will change in their life. Maybe they'll meet someone and that forces them to change their diet. And as soon as they improve their diet, they just are on top. Like it just makes such a huge difference in their life. So I really think it does really depend on your situation. And quite often it's hard to believe until you do it. And that goes back to your question right at the start, like, why don't people do these things? They seem so easy. Like, why don't people just exercise or just eat well? And because it's, they just don't have that confidence that it's going to change their life.
Well, I think people get stuck in the thing, as I think Russ was saying, people get stuck in the thing that's easy, and the things that are harder for them, they avoid because they're hard for them, right? Like Occam's razor, they avoid it because it's hard, and it's hard, and that's why they avoid it, right?
I think also one of the values you may bring in this book is what you talked about as far as the same words can mean so many different things. So socializing, someone might think of as, oh, well, I was out for 3 hours last night surrounded by people. What do you mean I'm not socializing? And, whereas if you sort of go in, if you have a chapter on what are you actually meaning by socializing, and that it's not just, I'm going to guess, being surrounded by people, it's actually having communication and connection with those people. Yeah. So, knowing what those words are and how to think about them.
So no, that's a great point. So something I do go into in the chapter on socializing is, what is it that makes a good relationship? What is it that about being around people that releases this oxytocin and makes us feel good? And that's basically what we call connected. When we feel that oxytocin being released, that's what we call a sense of connection, because we're like, I feel good around this person, and it's just that oxytocin. So what makes us produce this oxytocin when we're in someone's company? And I've said it's basically three things. So first, it's trust. So do we trust this person? And there's several things like sharing. If someone shares with us, we generally feel that sense of connection. This could be like sharing personal belongings, or it could be sharing personal information. Another one's affinity. So that's like, am I like this person? So the more we are like the person we're with, the more we feel connected. We get that bit of oxytocin. So if the person, follows the same football team, if they believe in the same God, if they, have a similar job, even if they look the same, similar age, like all these things, we're like, I'm like this person, and it makes us feel good and connected. And the third one's touch. So if we've got touch, it can be like hugs, handshakes, fist pumps, like that gives us a sense of connection too. So,
right. Well, and oxytocin isn't something that's uniquely human. It's across at least mammals, because I know we raise dairy goats, and there is a noticeable difference between does that we hand milk versus does that we machine milk, and how they sort of react
because of the touch
to us.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know necessarily exactly whether the machine doesn't stimulate the oxytocin generation or what have you, but the does that are hand milked really do form a different kind of bond to those that are machine milked. And part of that probably is when you're machine milking, you're not really paying the same kind of attention.
You're not paying attention to them,
so
people like so Adam. Sorry, I'm laughing because we're talking about.
Sorry for the segue about
machine milking goats
into the dairy world.
We got onto that topic here. So you had a piece you'd like to read, which is the first chapter of your book. This would be a good time for you to. You sent me a excerpt. Did you want to read that now?
Yeah, so that was the first paragraph of the chapter on forgiveness. Okay. That chapter comes in the third part of the book, happiness in practice. So it talks a bit about what we talked about before, the two different types of forgiveness. Forgiveness can often have different meanings, so it's important to define what we mean by it in this chapter. One common meaning of forgiveness is to release someone from the consequences of their wrongdoing. Another meaning is to stop feeling resentment towards someone we believed has wronged us in some way. It is this latter definition that we will be discussing in this chapter. Although it's possible to both remove the consequences and let go of resentment, we shouldn't mistakenly think these definitions go hand in hand. We can release someone from consequences but still feel resentment towards them, and we can stop harboring resentment towards someone yet still require them to suffer the consequences of their actions. Additionally, excusing someone from consequences often will not ease our resentment, and therefore doing so is not the sure path to achieving the emotional peace of forgiveness.
So I think this is a great example of where the surface summary of something doesn't do justice to the depth of it, because not having, the book having just released, not having read it yet, just, sort of a couple of the blurbs had me looking at this and going, I don't know about this guy. But you're actually identifying something really powerful in this, because if you're just releasing people of the consequences, you're setting yourself up to get bitten by that snake again. To your analogy before. But the power of being able to say, you know what, I got slapped. That's on them. I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm not going to put myself in a position where I'm going to get slapped again tomorrow. But I'm not going to worry about the fact that I was slapped. has a lot of. I was a little bit concerned in sort of how some of your work was being summarized, on the web and such, that it was very passive. That it's just, it's just, the not just turn the other cheek, but walk into it. Whereas this is a very different kind of thing. It's not saying anything about allowing yourself to continue to be hurt. It's just not focusing on the fact that you were hurt. Correct the situation, get yourself out of danger, but then don't worry about yesterday because that just happened. It's not going to change. Just move forward. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm so glad you raised that. And one of the most powerful things about this is, so you said that we are going to try and avoid these consequences again, like avoid this bad outcome. And we're so much better at that when we're thinking clearly, right? If we're holding resentment and we've got all this cortisol pumping through our veins or through our brain, it reduces the capacity of our prefrontal cortex. So we just can't think as clearly. We'll be foggy. So if we can remove that resentment, we can think clearly, and we're so much better at coming up with a solution to avoid this situation again.
And if you don't do it, you're almost more likely to put yourself back in that situation. It's like I haven't forgiven the snake for having bitten me. So I need to go interact with that snake again. So and then it bit me again. Gosh darn it, So it's being having that awareness, just saying I can deal with this without having to interact with that with the thing that harmed me or the thing that I am forgiving, and just move on rather than having to rather than even having to address it. There's a lot of traumas where people get caught up in them because they keep interacting with the source of the trauma.
Yeah, 100%. They go and try and get some, I don't know, retaliate as opposed to reduce the chances of that happening again. Retaliation, if it's not well planned, often backfires, and we're much better focusing that energy on, how can I prevent this from happening again?
Yeah, the whole narrative that sometimes isn't things of need to go get closure from that person. It's like what you're saying here is a completely different thing. It's like, no, you just generate that forgiveness internally, detach that person, and move on. It's an interesting perspective, and I think a potentially quite powerful one.
Yeah, I think world changing. I'm so excited about it. Like if we can promote this, it could have such a profound effect on our economy. Like, imagine how much more productive people are going to be at the workplace if they can forgive their colleagues for their mistakes. They're going to find solutions quicker. How much happier are people going to be at home if they don't go home stressed from their day at work, and if they can forgive their family for the mistakes they've made. And, people are just going to go to work happier because they're not taking to work, the problems at home because they've forgiven, that person. And also it'll just improve like our medical bills. Like so much of our disease is caused by stress, and so much of our stress is caused by this worry and resentment and regret. So if we can reduce that, we can be healthier and happier, and I think it can have a huge impact on society.
So So Adam, if the people are listening, I'm going to ask you what the message is, but what can somebody do besides, of course, buy your book, like Happypedia and Amazon? What can people do tomorrow to move in this direction?
I think the most powerful thing you could do is spend time noticing your decisions appearing unpredictably Because when we notice our decisions appearing unpredictably, then it becomes really obvious that there's no way that you could have avoided that decision. And when you know that you can't have avoided that decision, then it's so much easier to forgive yourself for it. And once you strengthen this belief that, all my decisions are just happening unpredictably, then it's so much easier to project that onto someone else. You're like, this person had no idea they were going to make that decision until it happened. It's not their fault. They didn't choose to make that decision. So this isn't an easy thing to do because, first of all, it just flies in the face of everything we've been told our whole life, that our decisions are avoidable. But you can experience your decisions just appearing unpredictably. We've got no idea what our next decision is going to be until it just appears. I think that would be the one thing that people could do that would really move them in the right direction.
Would you be interested in a little bit in some feedback?
Yep.
So I can tell you about the book that's on your webpage. I read that and was profoundly uninterested in what I thought I was going to hear in this hour.
Yeah, right.
And this past hour I found profoundly interesting.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know if you wrote that or your publisher wrote it, I think it doesn't do a very good job of capturing what you've done. And I don't know that a blurb like this is going to be able to. And maybe you consider doing something where the first page of each of your chapters, you release. Because I think, and this goes back to your whole thing about the definitions. It's going to be so easy to read this and fill in your own meaning of these words and either be interested or just discard them. And you have to get your definition of these things into people's heads for them to understand what you're talking about. I don't know if that's helpful or not.
That's a great idea, Ross. Yeah. Well, I think, releasing the first page of each chapter, because I start each chapter with defining the terms. What does this word mean? What does anxiety mean? What does regret mean? 100%. That's a great idea. And about this book, I'm going to have to go back and read that.
But I think a lot of it comes back to the definitions I was bringing to the words as I read it.
Yeah,
and that there's a whole subtlety and depth to that. So I think your book is much more interesting than I initially thought. I don't want to be dismissive, but I sort of looked at it and went, "This is But you're much more interesting talking to, and for someone to look, for them to buy the book and read it, you got to set. So
Ross, if we're going to be, what was that? Sorry,
it's how do you set the hook properly so someone actually takes the time to engage rather than that rather than reading the couple paragraphs and skipping over, and that's because I think what you've got is a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. But could you tell us, like brutally honestly, what did you think? You said you didn't think it was going to be all that great. What did you think it was going to be when you read that about this book?
Can you
what?
For a second? So I'm just re-skimming it now because I read it sort of in the hour before.
Yeah, right.
It felt like it was going to be sort of a chewed up regurgitation of a bunch of other things that are sort of out there.
Yeah.
Without, and again, not to offend you, as for brutal honesty, right? But I think that's really more. That's the blurb. It's not the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so like if I go to the very first line, you almost lost me there. In Happypedia, Adam Brownlie offers a holistic guide to unlocking lasting happiness. Blending science with modern Modern Philosophy. This comprehensive book explores the 6 core pillars of happiness: food, exercise, sleep, socializing, novelty, and hope. It's like, really? But again, it's what the meaning of those words are. Just the word itself is almost fluffy, but the definition that you're working with is a lot more nuanced and complex. So I almost wouldn't even list the 6 pillars without having the I think it's dangerous, not dangerous, but I think it risks someone skipping over it if you just give the word without accompanying it with what you mean. Because what you mean by socializing, I think if you got a dozen people in a room and said, tell me what socializing is. I think 11 out of the 12 would have nothing to do with what you're talking about when you use the word socializing.
Yeah. That's interesting because some of the topics, a lot of the topics are so, you could even say controversial, that, I really want to give people confidence that this book is grounded in science. And so that's what was going through my mind when I was like, let's start with the 6 pillars. Like, everybody agrees with them. Everyone knows they're important. Let's put something there that's agreeable. But it might be giving people the wrong impression that just like, we know this stuff. It's nothing new. When really it is. It's really, there's a lot of new stuff in there. There's a lot of stuff there that people are like, wow, I had no idea. Like, what, I knew that, but I never thought about it that way.
So I think that he's saying that, it's like we're being told you need to be happy, eat, exercise, and socialize, and have hope, which is like, okay, we knew that, but I think when we get into depth of what you read, we saw the depth of what it is and the importance of it, right? And so I think what you're saying, if I read you correctly, is when I see the word be happy, eat food, exercise, and sleep, it sounds like, well, yeah, of course, that's what I have to do. But it's deeper than that, right? Your book is deeper than that, of course, and I think that's
if it weren't for the fact that I was reading it to prep for the podcast, I probably wouldn't have gone past the first paragraph.
So So, hey, I'm sorry, Adam. Did you know you were going to come on and be taken to task on this podcast?
Well, if you'd been less interesting, I wouldn't be giving you this feedback, right? But I think you've actually got some really interesting thoughts on this, and some approaches that I haven't really seen or heard elsewhere. I mean, the just taking forgiveness, the decoupling of consequence from how you feel about it, and decoupling whether you need anything from the harming entity in order to release it internally for yourself. Maybe that's in other self-help books and things like that I haven't run across, or in other things. But I think that's a new subtlety in terms of looking at those things. So, like I said, I think this is actually a useful and important book for people to read. And I don't want.
Well, I hope you get a chance to read it now, Ross. And we should talk again after you've had a read.
Yeah,
because I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions after that.
And to be fair, we're talking. Like your field is for philosophy and psychology and this holistic approach, and you are talking to a computer programmer who has a very mathematical structure mind. Things are put in this code way, and A equals B and CC, and so I think that's an interesting that these people with these brains are going to read it too, and people with your brain and my brain who wants to be more philosophical are going to read it too, probably hear something different.
Right, but the most world-changing book means nothing if someone doesn't actually open it and read it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
100%. And I think Ross is actually my target audience. Like, I'm very, like I said at the start, I'm very much cause and effect, A plus B equals C sort of thing. So someone with that mind who thinks that way is going to pick it up probably a bit quicker than people who want more fluffy stories. That's what this book is probably lacking a bit, is the and that's why I've called it Happypedia, just to give people a bit of a heads up. This is what you're in for. It reads a bit like an encyclopedia. It's a very matter of fact, and
you might be showing you might be showing your age with the reference to encyclopedias there, Adam. It might be because when's the last time you saw an encyclopedia? When's the last time you saw an encyclopedia? I think you have some at your house, actually.
I say I think it ends in 1998 or something.
But you have them. If you have encyclopedias in your house now, it's more like a museum piece.
Right.
It's not for any useful purpose, right?
Well, but I mean, just in this conversation, it got me thinking on some things. I mean, I had a business partner who ended up stealing $250,000 from me. And, I still every once in a while dwell on that. He's been dead for like 6 years. There's nothing, there's no money, there's no estate to recover money from or anything. There is no action or any kind of, every cycle I spend thinking about that is wasted. It's pointless. So it's, I mean, every once in a while think about people I worked with 25 years ago. Or, it's like, they really irritated me that, he got the chairman's award for that and they didn't know the blah. 25 years, why is that even still in my head, So, it's an interesting thing in terms of finding those things and just purging them. They're
and it's not, and that's, and something interesting just to mention on that's not something if you've been reflecting on this for 25 years, you will have really strengthened that belief, that thought and that feeling. That's not something you're going to be able to overturn overnight just with a new perspective. The more often we think something, the stronger that that becomes. So you can do it over time. Like, none of this is quick. If you want to get fit, you're not going to get fit with one run.
Right. Well, and every time we take a memory out, we alter it when we put it back in. So it's interesting. But some aspects of like mindfulness, it's like when that memory comes up, just being conscious of it and saying, this isn't worth spending time or thinking about. Stop, put it away. And it takes a long time. It's not going to happen overnight, but just even the whole, why even spend more than a couple of seconds? Take the time to Anyway, it's just interesting. It just got me thinking.
So I'm going, hey, you got to...
And as Trevor knows, it takes a lot to make me think.
He got the computer programmer. This man is the world expert in a very niche piece of software that he traveled around and taught. So he has some very niche like knowledge, and is a very mathematical computer type mind. And it's interesting to hear you guys talking. I didn't know you guys. That's cool. But Adam, what is your what's your message to kids? What's your message to the world? Like, besides you need to buy Happypedia in Amazon, what do you? The big portion of my audience is between 25 and 45. So I don't know what age you are, but you look like you might be in that range. So what's the message?
I think the message is I think most of us are just wanting to think positive thoughts. And that is so much easier if we've got the basics right. And it's so much easier if we can forgive. What would be the message? The message would be like I've already talked about, accepting that or taking the time to notice our decisions appearing unavoidably. And I just wanted to say, read the book to understand more about why they're unavoidable. But maybe next time something happens, next time, whether you make a mistake or someone does something that disadvantages you, that you would rather they didn't do, ask yourself what caused that. If you can identify what caused that, then that's another powerful thing in showing us that it's not our fault or it's not their fault. If we made a decision that ended up being bad and causing us to lose a lot of money or some such thing, if we think back, what made me make that decision? Quite often, we had a very good reason at the time that we did that. Or we just didn't know something. There was some critical piece of information we were lacking. Or we just didn't have a good night's sleep. You know, there would be something that caused us to make that decision. And if we can identify what that was, then we can be like, you know what? It's not my fault, like, that I made that decision. Or if someone else hurts us, like, what made them do that? Like, what past life event caused them to believe that what they did was good? You know, what was it? Was it something their parents said to them, something their friends said to them, like some book they read? What made them think that what they did was going to be a good thing? And if we can identify what caused them to make that decision or do what they did, then we can be like, well, now I know why they did it. Like, it's not their fault, like, that they did that.
It makes me think a little bit about how sometimes when somebody does something, we presume they're doing it from our motivations, not their motivations. Right? And we don't know their motivations, and we need to understand that they have different motivations than us. We expect, like, if I do something, I'd say, okay, I'm being a jerk if I did that, but that someone might do something. They're not being a jerk. It's just another way that they exist, and the brain works in a different way than mine. So we have to give people that kind of grace too.
Yeah. It helps us be so much more compassionate when we know that what they did was unavoidable, because we're less likely to be like, oh, this is a shit person. We can just be like, what made them do that? And it's like much more compassionate approach. We're like, you know, what is going through this person's mind? What's happening in their life right now? Yeah.
Wow. So one last totally unrelated thought. I'm coming to Australia next year. What should I not miss?
Oh, what should you not miss? A lot of people don't go inland. They just stick to the coast. Like, the coasts are beautiful.
Yeah.
There's a lot to see on the coast. Most people live on the coast. The real, like, the further inland you go, I guess, the more authentic Australia you get. The thicker people's accents become, the more kangaroos there are, the more of nothing there is.
You should definitely pick a fight with an emu. Or Doyle.
So, I mean, you're talking about hundreds of miles inland, like to the center of Australia, or just like a few hundred miles?
Well, it depends how much time you got. Like, it's a big journey. Yeah. So we're talking about days of driving. But yeah, if you want to meet some true blue Aboriginals or authentic Australian farmers, then go inland and have a drink at one of the country pubs.
So let me ask you one last thing. I think the thing that people always want to read, somebody who's presenting a philosophy, like a marriage counselor, a marriage. Are you happy? Is Adam happy?
Oh, I feel so qualified to write this book. I haven't had any, life-changing events. Like, every small event has been life-changing. Like, just having that walk along the river with Jack that day had a profound effect on my life. But in the instant, it seems like nothing. But yeah, happiness comes particularly easy for me.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's great that you're practicing what you preach, and you're practicing it every day, and that's great to hear. So we should tell people where to get your book. So Happypedia, you can go to Adam Brownlie. That's Brownlie spelled BROWLIE.com.au. Is .com.au, is that how they do on websites in Australia?
Yeah. And I think you missed the N. Did you say BROWN?
Oh, yeah, you left the N out.
I left the N out, did I?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that again. We'll edit that part out. And if you would like to, no, I don't edit things out. And if you'd like to get Adam's book, Happypedia, go to adambrownlie.com.au. Brownlie spelled BROWNLIE.com.au. Is that how people say websites in Australia? Or do they say it?
Yeah, exactly.
So
.com.au. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's how all our URLs finish.
Why do they do that? Like, why don't they just do .com?
Because it's
I know it's a different country.
It's regional.
Why do they feel the need to identify regionally like that? Well, it's just interesting to me. Okay. Well, hey, any parting thoughts before we sign off? And thank you so much for coming on. This
probably a different domain name server.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I asked a computer programming question, and we got the computer programmer answered in the computer programmer way.
But it also means that.
Well, what's interesting is in UK they've got .co.uk. Like they didn't even keep the com. So yeah.
Yeah, I know that, and that's why when I read it, I kept reading it as .co.au. I was surprised to see the M there. So
well, and it's going to be what entity controls the things that end .au and .uk and things like because there's an entity in the U.S. that controls things at .com that you have to register those names with, so they don't want to quite reasonably bind themselves to a foreign entity. Yeah.
What a terribly relevant topic to be finishing our conversation on your wonderful book on the structure of websites and domains in Australia. But thank you, Adam. Please go and look for Adam's book at his website, adambrownlie.com.au. And okay. Thank you, Adam, for coming on. Say goodbye to the nice people.
Thanks, Doyle, and thanks, Ross and Howie. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts once you get a chance to read it, or you should be able to listen to it next week. There'll be a audiobook coming out. So,
great.
Yeah.
We can, okay.
Well, if you're reading the audiobook, then you just doubled your sales in the United States to American women, so
because they all like
the Australian accent.
Oh yeah. Wait, is it you reading the audiobook?
No. So interesting story, but we're already out of time. No, it's not me, but I am thinking of doing it at some stage. Because,
you have a good voice.
I think it would be.
I think people would like your voice.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Doyle.
Is it an Australian that reads it?
No, it's an American. Yeah. Well, it's actually, so at the moment I'm just working with AI. So I put up a job advertising for a narrator to read it because I paid a narrator to read my last book, The Last Gods. And I got 30 auditions. I went through and listened to them all, chose the best two. And so in this audition platform, you just press play and listen, and then you can download the file. And so I downloaded them to send to some other people to get some feedback. And then in the file name, I saw that the file name was 11 Labs. So this audition that I got wasn't even by a human. So yeah, I'm going to record it with AI to start with, just to get it out there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I do plan to re-record it with a real human, maybe even myself at some stage.
We've had a fabulous book narrator on the show a few times named Chris Turek, and he's narrated lots of books, and he has a great voice. So hey, you should talk to Chris. He's got a great voice. Maybe if you're looking for, but that's an American voice. I bet people would really love an Australian voice too.
Yeah, right. Well, I'll look up Chris Turek. How do you spell Turek?
Turek. ChrisTurek.com. I can send you his contact information because he's been on the show. He's right. He's been on the show a few times, so you could hear his voice on my show actually. But hey, thank you so much for coming on. Now I feel like we're just chatting now, but I appreciate your time, and I'll be in touch with you with the next steps and stuff about release times, and I can work with you on that. If there's a particular date you want it released by and stuff like that, we can. We can talk about that.
Sounds good. Thanks, Doyle.
Okay. Thank you, Adam. Okay. Bye.
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 Thanks for spending time with us. Now go make a story worth telling.